Hello there, welcome to this video. In this particular video you will learn how to read and write files in Python, and so I'll be showing you at least 5 different ways of which you could use any to read and write files or data in Python. And so without waste of time, let's go straight into it. We'll start by importing the packages, show you how to use Pandas, how to read and also write with Pandas. It's great for like operating on tables, and so yeah, it's very good skill to know how to use this, especially if you want to do analysis with tables. I also show you how to read and write JSON files, which are mostly the form of information that you will need to configure your code. And so if you have any configuration file, usually it comes in this JSON file, and so you need to have the skill to be able to like read it from your computer or from whatever the user is providing in a different script into your code and extract this information, and then let your code work with that particular information. So most configuration files come in this form, so it's great to know how to read and write this information. And then Pickle, it's another great package that you could use to read and write several of the arrays. So mostly NumPy arrays, you could use Pickle to write them and also read. And so let's start with text, plain text. And so let's start with assuming we don't have any files, we would create this particular example file and we will put it in our data, which is a folder I have at this particular current location called data. We'll create a data file called example.txt, and this is just like the path to where we want to save the data. And the syntax is like you have open is the keyword. We'll first of all open the file that you want to write into, and we use a W for write, and we use an R for read, we use A for append, and if you want to read and write at the same time, then you do R plus. Okay, but now we just want to create a file first, and so the mode of opening this particular file, we'll open it in a mode called write, and we alias it using the as file so that we'll have a handle to operate on something. Okay, and so now with this with this command we're able to like open this particular file that has not yet existed in this particular folder called data with a write. And once you have this f, or you could call it file or whatever, then you could do this particular file that you open dot write, and then you could write whatever information you want to. In this case we're writing a text that says hello Python. Okay, so let me split that and run this particular code. And in this particular folder, like if I ls here, now we'll have this example. And so to check that, I could do something like ls from here data, which is a folder that I have, and then I'll put that column since I'm in a Jupyter notebook, and then this particular file has been created. Yeah, great. Now we have that information. We could delete it and check it again. So for example, let's just delete that particular stuff. So if we do remove minus rf in data, there is an example.txt. Let's delete that. Now if we check this, there will be no example, so it has gone. And if we run this particular code again and we check, then we should find the example. And that example, if we exploit this with the information that will be written in it. Now let's try to read this particular information back. Let me just remove this for now. Okay, so let's read it. And remember, I dropped it in the data. So you set the path to where your file is, including the file, and then you tell it the mode to which you want to open the file. And so we're opening it as read mode, and we're having a handle called f, which could be file, and then we could do f.read. Remember to write, we did f.write, and then we passed in the content that we wanted to write. Now we want to read, we just have to do f.read, and then parentheses, and we read this information into a variable called content, and now we could print the content of that file by printing information from there. So if you run this particular stuff, we should see that the content of that file says hello world, which is exactly what we just wrote up here. So that's how to read and write using the TXT file. I mean, most of the common files we're working with small data, they usually write them in TXT files. It could be tables, it could be a column, data in rows, whatever. It could be text, you could write them. They're usually very lightweight, so they are very small files, so people tend to use them. Okay, so that's how to read and write information in TXT. Let me know in the comment section if you have any question. Now let's move on to using CSV. This is another common way of like saving data, especially with if you see people that work with Excel, they work with tables, and the data they save usually is like in CSV format. Okay, and so you could do the same thing here in Python, or you could even read the data that they created with other software that is saved in CSV by following this instruction. And to do that, we just use Pandas. Remember, we imported Pandas before, which is a package in Python, and we imported it as a PD. So here we do the PD dot, there is a method called data frame, and so we make use of this data frame to like access information. In this case, we're just trying to create first the data, and so here we're like creating like a sort of dictionary. Remember when I said this query, it's a dictionary, and in this dictionary we're given this key and this value. So these are the names, and the names are lists of two people, Alice and Bob, and we're giving it another key called age, and in age it has two values, which is these two age corresponding to these two human beings here. Okay, now that we have this information stored in a data frame, which is for sure called df, then we could say to sv. This is the specific method that you need to use to write the data. And let's also put it in a data.csv. Remember when we did ls here, there was like now this one, but there's no that data.csv, there's no this.csv file here. We'll write it and check it again. And here we just say that index is equals to what? 4, so we don't just like add any numbers by the side, serial numbers basically. Okay, and so if we run this part of the code, it will save it, and if we run this part of the code, it will read it. So let's split that, and if we run this now here, so I need to run this first part because I never imported those packages. And so if I run this now, then it should be saved. So if I come back here and do ls in the data, we should see a CSV. So that's the file we just created now. Now let's read this particular information. It's just the same way, just we provide a path to where the data was saved. In this case, it was in data, and there's a data called CSV. And then we just read it using the read_CSV because we saved it as CSV. And once we just provide this command, it will read the information into this variable data read and or data frame read, and we could print the content of this particular CSV. So let's run that, and voila, here we go. This is the content of the CSV. We had a name for the two people, we had the age for the two people, and we have this number, which by default will just be an index that will guide you towards slicing the tables. Next, we'll move to using JSON file. And so to read and write with JSON file, let's use a dictionary. And so here we'll create a dictionary. This is a dictionary because of the curly bracket, remember that always. And you provide the key and you provide the value. So this value is associated with this key, and this value is associated with this key. Now we have a dictionary, and this dictionary is called data. We could write this data information too. Let's save it in the same place, data/data.json, and again we're using the open. Remember, what is just changing here is just the format is changing, the mode stays the same, the syntax is the same, so we always do with open as file, and then you grab this handle, and then you could do a bunch of stuff with this handle. If you want to do f.mode, it will tell you that it's whatever mode you provided here, it's to write. Okay, and so we could dump this we do JSON dot dump, and we provide the data, and this information would I give it information about the path and also the mode to which you write the data. So if I split this and I run this particular code and I come back here and ls, we should see a JSON file now saved in our folder, and here is the JSON file. To read it is the same. To read it, you just have to provide a path to where that JSON file is, and the mode you provide it to be read, because we want to read as f, and then you just still do the same stuff. You just do JSON.load, and then you pass in f, and it knows the mode, it knows the path, and then that will load the information into this variable, and we could print this using that command. If we run that, then it shows us exactly the information that we wrote here, that is saved in that particular file called .json. Now let's move to reading and writing Excel file. The default way of writing Excel is .xlsx. You could choose to save it as .csv, but some people prefer to just work with this one, especially if someone is always saving and reading information in Excel. They could just use the default, which is that. Okay. And so to create this particular file, you could actually create this particular file using the Pandas. And so for example, we had our data frame. If we do that data frame, and then we'll do to Excel, remember this data frame contains information already, and that dictionary that we created with people's name and their ages. If we do that to Excel, and then you just provide the path the way you want to save, the path to which you want to save, and you do index is equals to false. Then if we run this particular one, it will create the .excel file. So if you run that, the model OPX, so I need to install new other stuff. So yeah, let me not bother you with that. I could like install this and that will work, but I don't want to. Let's go to the last one, which is using the Pickle. We could also use np.saves. Maybe I will show you that too, because it's also very fast. And so we'll open the file again. In this case, we'll open it as binary, and then we just do pickle.dump, and then you provide the data frame that you want to dump and the format and the path information. So if I split that and run this, and if I come back here and do ls, let me just silence this. So I will show you how to do that in the next video. I don't want to start debugging this particular video. And so if we do ls here now, we should have a new file added, and that new file is .pickle. We could read that .pickle file using pickle.load, and then we just provide, in this case we're reading that's binary, and we have to provide a path to where the data lives, and it's in data/data.pickle, and then we could just print the content that is loaded here again, and that will tell us the content of that particular read. So that's that for this video. That's how you read. You could also save information with, for example, if you have information save in variable A, and in variable A you have an MP array that has these values, for example maybe 3, 4, 2, 1, whatever. If you want to save this array, you could also save this array using mp.save. So there's something called mp.save. If you want to compress it, you do a z. If you don't want to compress it, you just do a save. And here you provide a path to where you want to save it. Remember where we've been saving? We've been saving in the data. In the data slash, you give it a name, maybe test save, test mpz. Usually we save it as mpz, and then you provide the information that you want to save. In this case, we want to save a, and we want to save a, and after saving it, you want to still call it a. So you just do a is equal to a. So one is value, one is key. Okay. And if you run this particular code, it complains mpz is not imported. Let's import that. So we could do import numpy as np, and if we run that, and we come back here and run this particular code. Now our A is equal to that, and it's complaining that saves got an unexpected keyword A. That's a bit weird. Let's split that and run that. We have that. Let me just change that to an array. See complaint. That's interesting. I have my A, I'm passing the A. Let's do a save Z, okay, and run that. It saves that. That's where it's because I'm providing a compressed format to just a normal save. That was what was happening. So I did not give any of this extension. It could have worked without that error. And so to load it, you just have to do mb.load, and then you just provide a path to where you save the information, and that will be loaded into a variable, and you could access those variables. So if you run that now, it's loaded into here, and you could access it by saying, for example, your AA that is loaded now is equal to your loaded, and then you slice in the key, and the key here will give it an AR. That's like what we use to save here. And of course, you could do this dot keys, and it will print everything that's available there. So if we do that now, we have our AA. Now if we print our AA, or if I just paste it here, we should see that this information matches whatever we had here. So this video is getting a bit long, but that's how you read and write information using Python or within Python. See you in my next video. Bye. Please, if this information is very useful to you, remember to leave a like so that the video will reach others. That's how you support me. But also, you could share with others or recommend this channel to others people. Thank you for supporting. See you in my next video. Bye bye.